It is 100% a seller's market, and the Flames should be all in, but by the looks of it, they're teetering on the edge once again.
You're Locked On Flames, your daily podcast on the Calgary Flames. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's episode of Locked On Flames. As always, I am your host, Jess Belmosto, and thank you so much for joining me. Today, we're going to be talking all about the latest trade that really indicates the market for the trade deadline as we approach that a little bit later this week, as well as how the Flames can take advantage of it and players to watch in tonight's matchup against the Philadelphia Flyers. Before we dive into all that, though, make sure you are subscribed to Locked On Flames wherever you get your podcasts, as well as YouTube. We're here for you Monday through Friday, 5 days a week, your Calgary Flames every day, and let's go. So earlier this afternoon, Trent Frederic from the Boston Bruins was traded to Edmonton for a second round pick, and I think that it's a fair deal, but this indicates everything that the Flames really need in order to, like, if they were looking for a sign to sell, this is their sign to sell. It is staring them right in the face, but it feels very much like DW, like the meme of DW from Arthur saying, that sign's not for me. I can't read, because it's literally right in front of their faces, and I don't think that they're going to take this by and by the hand and just run with it. Cam Robinson says the Trent Frederic trade only further illustrates how much of a seller's market this is. Bubble teams really need to take a serious look in the mirror and decide if this is really the season to go for it, or soft sell and take advantage of the lack of options out there. And that is the Flames. They are the poster child of a bubble team right now, because they are right there in the playoffs, but they're also like not far off at all from a top 10 draft pick, which feels so crazy because I feel like it shouldn't be that close of a like such a fine line to walk, I guess, between the two. I feel like you should have to be a little bit better or a whole lot worse. But let's get back to this. No one is saying that the Flames need to sell everything and everyone. No one is saying, okay, go out there and, trade Rasmus Andersson, trade Mackenzie Weegar, trade, Kadri, trade Pospisil. Like, no one's saying that. But there are pieces that the Flames should be looking to move. And it doesn't look like they're going to be moving them. And it's not because these players are not they don't add value to the team, or they don't bring enough to the table or things like that, but it's because they don't fit in the team's current vision and the long-term plan for this team. The fact that there are so few defensemen available at this trade deadline that you are getting calls on a 33-year-old Joel Hanley, that's impressive. Honestly, this is the perfect opportunity for the Flames to take advantage of this, of the seller's market. I think that, Joel Hanley has been good for the Flames, especially these last few games. He's been excellent. So take advantage of that, because you have enough defensive depth within the organization right now, as well as prospects coming up, where you can afford to let Joel Hanley go. You claimed him off of waivers, so just go. Let him go. Tomorrow actually marks a year since the Flames claimed Hanley off of waivers, which is kind of ironic, but Point being, Hanley is a great piece for your defensive group, but he does not fit what you're trying to do right now. And realistically, you shouldn't be trying to make the playoffs. Sure, go out and win, whatever, but you can't be fighting for that playoff spot. You can't. Like, you're never going to convince these guys to tank. But you really want to go get embarrassed by the Winnipeg Jets in like 5 games? Are you sure? Why wouldn't you want another like top 10 pick? Like, you really don't want another Zane Parik or a player of that caliber? You don't? Huh. I don't know if you're in the right sport then. I don't know if this is the job for you. But my point is, the Flames have the biggest opportunity in front of them. And it'll be a mistake if they don't make any moves by Friday. They have to do something. And we're going to talk about taking advantage of having $16 million in cap space at the trade deadline coming up next. But not only should they be looking to be a broker in trades, they should also be looking to sell. They should be looking to get some draft capital in return for players like Joel Hanley, like Miromanov. I don't think they would move Dan Vladar, but I mean, teams are going to need a backup goalie. Dan Vladar is that guy. And you could make the rosters work. You shake some things up. But this is right in front of you. And it feels very silly to not take advantage of this seller's market. And coming up next, we'll talk about taking advantage and how the Flames can truly optimize these next few days into, future considerations, picks that could really help transform the franchise. Looking for a snack that's both delicious and nutritious? Crack into a good source of protein with Wonderful Pistachios. Wonderful Pistachios is one of the highest protein nuts. Each 1 ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, giving you 10% of your daily value. Plus, they're packed with fiber and better for you unsaturated fats to help keep you feeling full longer. I love Wonderful Pistachios because they are a great snack on the go or really anywhere. I can have them when I'm on the run at work, in between customers, in between hockey games, or just because I'm in a good mood and craving some pistachios. Get snackin' and get crackin' with the snack that packs a protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more. Thank you, everyone, for hanging out with me today on Locked On Flames. Make sure you're subscribed wherever you get your podcasts, as well as YouTube. We're here for you Monday through Friday, 5 days a week, your team every day. So like I mentioned before the break, the Flames have $16 million in cap space ahead of the trade deadline. I do not recall the last time they had that sort of flexibility. Really, I think this past off season is the only time where I've been like thoroughly impressed with how much cap space they have. And just to have $16 million at the deadline is bananas. But this is a good, again, another sign, another pointer that they should be taking advantage of the seller's market. With this, you have the opportunity to be the third team in a trade. Sure, maybe you retain 15% of a player's salary, or you take on the full the 25%, or heck, maybe it's 50%. The Flames are only retaining a little one player right now, and it's Jacob Markstrom. So, they have some spots open for that. You could get the brokerage fee, which is, of course, a draft pick. Typically, it's a third or fourth round draft pick, depending on, what teams you're working with and, what the market looks like. But I do feel like because this is a seller's market, you might be able to get a little bit more. You might even, I think you are more likely to get a second or a third rather than a third or a fourth. Again, I am not necessarily someone who is an expert at trades, packaging trades, or anything like that, but I feel like just with the way things are trending and common sense tells me that if a team really wants it, they'll get it done and they'll do it that way. And they'll pay whatever price they have to make sure this gets done. This is the opportunity for the Flames to, you know, garner some draft capital here. I remember it was probably 5 years ago now at this point, but Arizona did it, like, for multiple trade deadlines in a row. Like, they would just be that third team involved, and they would get, like, a second or a third round draft pick. And I feel like this, again, is a perfect opportunity for the Flames to be in that position. Sure, they're not as bad as the Coyotes were. That's not the point, but they have the cap flexibility to make something happen and to make it work. And ultimately, that's what you need. It doesn't matter how good your team is or how bad your team is. If you have flexibility, you get it done. And we know how important the draft is. We know how important acquiring high-end players is. And not even necessarily like high-end players, but developing this next generation of Flames players is so important. This team wants to be a team that is competitive long term. It's not just a one and done window, slam shut locked, key thrown away sort of situation. They want to be at it year after year after year after year after year and eventually get it, right? So why not have as many draft picks as you can get? The more uh chances you have, something's going to stick to the wall at some point. And I think that, I mean, with the Flames not being interested in selling Andersson or Kadri, they should be taking advantage of what they could get in a return. And taking on, this being a broker is nothing. I'm sorry. It's not anything ridiculous. It's not like you're taking on the full salary of another player or something like that. You have the room to help teams facilitate these things. So, I mean, depending on the team or the situation, you might be able to ask for a little bit more. Um, it's obviously just going to be a draft pick, which is fine. I think that the Flames could obviously use those draft picks, like I mentioned before, or what they could do is hold on to those draft picks and then package them in a future trade that they might be working on. Or, if it's not until a 2027 draft pick or whatever, use that for a different deal moving forward. Um, the more draft capital you have, the more attractive you can make your trades as well as that draft. I do think that the Flames have to be smart about this. I don't think that they need to be um, overzealous or anything like that. We know they're not they're not really buying, but they're not necessarily going to be selling. Um, so let's go with the third option of being a broker. Speaking of goalies, it looks like Vitek Vanacek is being held out for trade purposes. Didn't he just get traded there over the summer? Anyways, probably, I would assume he's going to Florida because Florida needs a backup goaltender now that Spencer Knight's gone. should have been Dan Vladar. But anyways, I just think the Flames should have a better approach to this. I think even if it was just one player, even if it was just Coleman or Anderson, I wouldn't, I mean, or Kadri. I mean, we know what the market is like. You should have explored that option because realistically, even if you make the playoffs, you're not making a good run. You're just not. You can't score one goal in 9 periods of regulation hockey and then some overtime and expect to be a competitive playoff team. It's just not how it works. And they will be sorely missed if they fumble this because, again, all the signs are staring them right in the face. So let's get it done. I don't know. Maybe it's a little different when you have owners telling you things, but at the end of the day, there was a plan in place. They say the plan is still, that long-term success, but I don't think, like, how long-term are we looking? Because it just kind of feels like, again, we're working with the now. But coming up next, we are going to wrap up the show with my players to watch tonight against the Philadelphia Flyers as the Flames continue on their 6-game road trip. Thanks, everyone, for hanging out with me today on Locked On Flames. Make sure you're following me on Twitter and Blue Sky at Jess Belmosto. So tonight, the Flames take on the Philadelphia Flyers as they continue through their road trip. They have one more road game after this. So, yes, this is the second to last game of this road trip, and I cannot wait for it to be over. I think it's gonna be a rude awakening for, I think, everyone. Especially, like, it doesn't help that the Canucks are also playing bad. I think if the Canucks were playing a little bit better, it would probably make things, like, put things into perspective a lot quicker. But unfortunately, both teams are kind of playing hot potato with this last playoff spot. But let's talk about my players to watch tonight. First up is Yegor Sharangovich. Yegor Sharangovich was scratched in Sunday's matinee against the Carolina Hurricanes, and it caused a lot of commotion. He signed a 5-year extension over the summer that does not kick in until next year. He is being scratched due to underperforming before that 5-year, $5 million contract kicks in. That's not necessarily a good sign. And, sometimes things just happen. He started the season injured, missed a little bit of time. Just, he was obviously not going to be playing at the same level that he was last year. Where he had a career year, but you would still expect to see more from him, and it's just hasn't happened. We're at this point in the season now where you can only make so many excuses, and I looked at his point totals over these last 5 games and was astonished. He has a singular point, an assist, in these last 5 games. Will this be a wake-up call for him? Will being scratched kind of jolt him awake and say, oh, crud, I need to start playing better. I need to find my rhythm again. I need to figure out how to build chemistry with my line mates and just go for it. And I know that he played on Huberdeau's line last year, and, they were pretty successful together. But you're not pulling Coronado off of that top line and replacing him with a player that was just scratched. You're not doing it. Coronado has worked hard and earned that spot. So, I mean, you just can't take that away from him. I hope that Sharon Govich I hope he does play well. I mean, this is a big game for Morgan Frost and Joel Farabee. Obviously, this is their return to Philly since they've been traded. And it's a meaningful game for them. And I hope that he's able to, assist them in their performances tonight. But I also have Dustin Wolf as my player to watch. He will get the start tonight after a 32 save performance against Carolina on Sunday. He is having an absolutely phenomenal year. If the Flames did not have him, they would probably be a top 5 draft pick, maybe top 3. But right now, Wolf has a .913 save percentage, 2.58 goals against average, 20 wins. Like, I remember back at the start of the season, we talked about, Dustin Wolf, don't write him off. He just needs a little bit of time to get acclimated. This might not be a really good season for him. He might just need to get situated and, he has a really shaky defense in front of him. No, he has defied every odd and expectation that you have set for him. And I think that that is fantastic. And I think that Wolf is kind of used to that because he is a smaller goalie. So he's had to kind of always prove people wrong and do it quickly. However, I am curious to see how he does tonight with no offense, assuming the Flames aren't able to score anything the way that they did, the same way they did on Sunday, in the game before that, and the game before that. Can they snap this 3-game losing streak? I don't know. Dustin Wolf can't do it all by himself. And the offense is crazy if they think that that's, going to happen. They need to just do something. But I think personally, this game is another kind of benchmark for Wolf's Calder conversations, because you're playing against one of the other Calder favorites in Michkov, and I feel like Wolf is being left out of these conversations, and it's ridiculous because he is the best rookie. Sorry. No, I didn't say the most popular by any means. I just said best. I hope to see, I don't know. I kind of think the Flyers might crumble a little bit here because they have the stress of the trade deadline and the outside noise of that. Maybe that gets to them. It could happen. It could happen. But that will do it for me on today's episode of Locked On Flames. We'll have to watch and see what happens as the Flames visit the city of brotherly love tonight and drop the puck at 7 p.m. Eastern time. Make sure you're subscribed to Locked On Flames wherever you get your podcast, as well as YouTube. We're here for you Monday through Friday, 5 days a week. Your Calgary Flames every day. And I will see you all tomorrow with a post-game recap.